That scared the hell out of me. It's going to be a fun start. I just heard Craig go, now recording. Folks, welcome to the Tavern Chat podcast. We are recording an episode of Talking Crit. With me is Michael Battleotto, best known as Bad Mike from North Texas RPG Con and Frog God Games. Mike, get that drink out of your mouth.
I do have a little bit of soy juice in here, so
that's okay.
If I start getting a little crazy towards the end, you'll know.
You're allowed. And the man of the hour, you might know him as Old Man Gorgnard, Glenn Hellstrom. Glenn.
With the shiny bald dome here. Hiya, folks.
Thank God.
There's actually no light in that room.
Yeah.
No light in that room. That's all going off his head.
Yeah. The rest of you did not see the video that we see. But yes.
Yeah. You forgot our fourth co-host, Mr. Craig here.
Mr. Craig the bot, who will be silent except when Craig goes, recording, as right from the beginning. That's why you all love this so much, because
Mr. Craig.
We keep it real, man. We keep it real. So before we hopped into the podcast, we were talking ahead of time, and it's been a busy week, believe it or not, in gaming. And not our personal gaming, but newsworthy events in gaming. And I think that we'll just jump into it. I think it's the most newsworthy event right now, which is Wizards of the Coast's official statement that they've attached to pretty much every legacy PDF or print on demand available at the DM's Guild or Drive-Thru RPG, going from 4E back and some 5E stuff, believe it or not. But Mike, piss off.
Tell them to piss off?
Hello.
No, kick us off.
I'm here.
Kick us
off. Well, I'm really glad that other things happened. We don't have to talk about Gail's posting on Facebook. So luckily that's gone. That's passed. So we can just skip that part. Thank God. That would have been a horrible podcast to have to do. So basically, I'm going to read the disclaimer. I have the disclaimer in front of me. This is what, and I have I've got so much to say about this. And it might not go in the directions you think, too. I may go in some crazy directions.
All right, and you're talking not about just the typos. I'm going to tell you right now, I feel that this was written by a minimum wage intern who was told on a holiday weekend, crank this shit out, and nobody proofread it. What happened was he cranked it out, and then he called it in on a phone. And they went, that sounds, dude, that sounds good. I got to go back to my fucking barbecue. All right, Mike Morrow.
Okay, and it's July 4th, man.
Thanks. Yeah.
Well, there's a whole lead up to, I think, why that is. I'm going to read the disclaimer first, then I'm going to go back.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you what the background is, and y'all can chime in too. And then I'll tell you exactly why I think this is what it is. So here's the disclaimer. I'm going to read this. We recognize that some of the legacy content available on this website does not, which shouldn't be there, does not reflect the values of the Dungeons and Dragons franchise today. Which is wrong, spelled misspelling. Some older content. Dungeons and Dragons. Some older content may reflect ethnic, racial, and gender prejudice that were commonplace in American society at that time. Predictions were wrong then and are wrong today. This content is presented as it was originally created because to do so otherwise would be the same as claiming these prejudices never existed. Dungeons and Dragons, got it right that time, teaches that diversity is a strength, and we strive to make our D&D products as welcoming and inclusive as possible. It's part of our work will never end. So while you're digesting that, we're going to go back a couple weeks.
Well, I'm sorry. I listened to that, and I hear you talk about it, and it sounds like if this was recorded, go, and we here, Wizards of the Coast, producers of Dungeons and Dragons. like they've been inserted for every game. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
How do you spell the name of your?
Yeah.
Anyway,
is it one dungeon or multiple dungeons?
I thought it was lots of dungeons. Apparently, it's just one dungeon and a lot of dragons. But so that they've had a very bad spring in summer because if you're not keeping up with it, magic cards and the whole magic part of their business has been hammered with allegations of sexism and racism. They've had to pull cards that some of the fans felt were overly sexist or or had really squicky connotations. There's been a lot of people that have come forward and have said, yes, the people who are doing magic are racist and are sexist. I mean, they have receipts to back it up. They have emails, they have texts. So there was a lot of. I mean, that's has come under a huge amount of fire. That they've been controversial. That this was a huge blow against and magic, and they've had to do some major restructuring because of that. So add to that, an employee of theirs, Orion Black, correct? That's the name of the employee. Was left WotC under. I don't know if he was fired or quit. I mean, I don't know how these things work. I mean, he could. I think he says he quit, but he could have been fired. It was odd. He has come forward and he's named names, or not only named names, but he said, "Look, this is what happened to me." And what it boils down to is he feels like he was hired for tokenism. Basically, they wanted a diverse face. He's not allowed to do anything. The company, and matter of fact, I think some of the allegations where he was talked down to, and just in other words, so they've had a lot of really negative press in the past few months. With not a lot of positive, and a lot of this is because there's no conventions going on right now. There's nothing to turn this around for. You can't have a public face and go to places and say, "Hey, you know, we're gonna play games and have fun." There's really nothing going on right now except for people being quarantined for COVID.
It's very hard to do damage control.
Right, and the thing with Orion Black is this was just last week, but there are people from the Wizards of the Coast D&D side. I guess they were quasi-management or management positions. I think Greg Tito was one of them that is no longer with the company, who popped up on Twitter and said, "I should have done more. I should have addressed this. You're right. This happened." And you're like, "Holy shit!" You know,
apparently the rot goes deep in Wizards of the Coast when it comes to issues like this going on. So this is going on. My theory is I think we're looking for an easy win. Pretty negative, and it's been pretty bad, and they've been attacked on all kinds of fronts. I think. I even skipped the orcs are really black people controversy that popped up. You know, orcs and Pro or stand-ins for African American society, which that was a huge to-do on Twitter and other social media platforms. So all this going on at the same time, we take all three of those huge issues, and I think what they thought they were going to do, an easy win. And we're gonna throw ourselves under the bus and say we acknowledge that the company's been racist in the past. And the people who work for us have been racist. So from now on, we're going to try to do better. We're sorry about that. We're not going to change content because to do so would be, you know, whatever. But we're going to, in the future, avoid this. And we just want to let you know that if you see things that appear racist in past, because I know another form that's brewing is somebody piped up and said, you know, Oriental Adventures is a very racist name. and you know,
where have we heard that before?
Yeah, it's Oriental Adventures is very racist, and are y'all going to keep Oriental Adventures? So they're just getting hammered on all sides by all kinds of accusations. So I believe they thought they were going to have an easy win. There's a phrase I learned this week. I learn things, even though I'm an old man. I still learn things. It's called performative activism, which I did not know what performative activism meant. And due to my more progressive friends, I know what performative activism is. I'm going to read you the definition.
Wait, before you do, I'm going to take a shot. Performative activism, is that like a college play? Like you're not really, you're not really an
performance
actor?
Art. That's performance art. And that's when somebody wraps himself in tape and pours Jello on their head, and it's like, it's art.
Okay, all right.
Performative activism, it says it's a pejorative term to activism done to increase one's social capital rather than because of one's devotion to a cause. It is often associated with surface level activism referred to as slacktivism. What this boils down to is, I've seen it referred to this in other social media threads. We're not really doing anything. Activism means we're saying we're going to wring our hands and say this is so awful and we're so sorry this happened. Nothing really changes. Nothing they're doing is nothing they said really helps anybody. It's just a kind of a CYA.
Yeah.
We don't want to address this individually. We're just going to do a blanket thing that says everything we did in the past might be racist, and if it is, we're sorry about it. So they're not really doing anything. They're giving lip service to the fact that,
when I was a cop, we would have called if somebody's giving me a hand job. You're not really satisfying me at all. You just give me a stroke job. And that's what it is. Really.
When somebody mentioned that, I think it was in one of your Tenkar's Tavern threads, Eric, I was like, that means, but it sounds really good. And I looked it up and I said, that is exactly what they're doing. Is that they are like they're doing something. It reminds me of the billionaire who finds out that his Nike factory paying people 10 cents a day. And so he all upset and says, I'm going to donate $1 million to, Doctors Without Borders, which he's $1 million to him is like a nickel to me. So he's really not doing anything. He's just trying to look good and say, hey, I donate a lot. I know that I employ slaves in my factories in Thailand, but to make it better, I'm going to donate a lot of money to this cause over here. And then I'm going to go forget about it. I'm going to go on my yacht next weekend and party and forget about it. That's what this strikes me as. This is just them. They've had so much negative press for the last few months. This is the minimum amount they could do to make themselves feel better and to try to insulate themselves against claims from these people who are coming forward now. And yes, this is a racist and sexist company because this. That's my theory, in my opinion. I'm willing to listen to you guys and see if you can convince me that's not right or if you think something else.
Oh, no, listen. Is it better than the other option, which is to start 19 titles? Because it's
better than that. Yes, it is.
Because there's no halfway. They can't go back and edit the old titles because to do so is a money sink. They don't have the money to do so. The thing with the legacy titles, I'm calling them legacy titles because anything from 4th edition prior is print on demand or PDF, which you can't even get core 5e books in PDF these days because God forbid, print, yeah. Well, God forbid they get pirated, right? Or you can get as the quote basic. Right. But the PDFs, once they are uploaded, right? Once those files are ready to be print on demand, there is no cost. So it is printing money. It is a money machine for WotC.
Pure profit.
If WotC lost the ability to sell legacy products because of their improper past, the legacy of the evil writers on them, like Stephen Marsh and Tim Kask and Frank Metzner and Gary Gygax and all these other evil people.
Racist. I kid.
Yes, no,
not at all.
No, and the thing is,
but you know what they all have in common, Eric? They're not making any money for WotC right now, are they? That's what they have in common. They can be thrown under the bus. Yeah,
right. Because they can be thrown under the bus because they're not going to get paid. WotC is going to get paid now. If WotC went back and had take out any possible offending material from Oriental Adventures, they're not going to go through and edit. They'd go through and black line it out. Because they're not going to go through and rewrite anything. That would require somebody to
It's very difficult. It's extremely difficult. Yeah.
So you're not going to do that. So the best thing to do from their point of view, if you don't, it's best to pay the intern their $12 an hour to write a poorly written, poorly edited, don't know the name of my own fucking IP.
Can they find an intern that knows how to spell properly next time, though? There's got to be one of those around there somewhere.
Dungeons and Dragons. Pull a book off the fucking shelf. Okay? Hopefully you own one, and it'll tell you that. When I read that first time I didn't catch it. I read it the second time, and it was on the podcast. This podcast. I read it, and I did a double take, and I was like, wait a second. Maybe I don't know the name of the game. Maybe I've been saying it wrong for the last 40 fucking years. Right? No, I wasn't saying it wrong for 40 fucking years. Whoever wrote WotC was. That blows my mind. That is fucking... And you figure they would have fixed it by now. But no. No.
Maybe they're still on vacation. It's a long vacation week. Maybe they haven't come back yet. They're coming back next Monday. But the point where I was making all that is that they've had a lot of. Here's what's here's what's so dumb about this. Like you said, Eric, it's good they did not decide they're going to go back, change old material, because if you want to hear hue and cry from every political spectrum, go back and alter that would have pissed off everyone, because that's just something that that's I want to talk about the origins of fascism. That's what they do, is go back and change books and say, oh, the book didn't really say this. I mean, that you're talking Orwell 1984 then. Didn't do that, which is good, and they're not going to stop selling material because, like you said, it's printing money. They're not having to do anything to print it, but they're doing the very least. And the thing that I thought was hilarious is it doesn't make anybody happy.
No,
the old grognards who already didn't buy WotC. I mean, I haven't bought anything from WotC in years because I don't need anything from WotC. I don't play 5th edition. I think it's a great idea, and I'm glad there's 5th edition around because it's helped the hobby as a whole. But I don't purchase WotC products, and most grognards like myself don't either. It doesn't make anybody, an old school gamer, happy. It doesn't really make any of the new school gamers happy because they realize this is what it is. It's performative activism. It's not anything real. It's just doing the minimum necessary to CYA and say, hey, we acknowledge that we're in a pickle right now. We've done a bunch of really crappy stuff, so we're going to do the least, or the easiest thing we can do, which is to say, yeah, everything we used to write's racist and it's written by racism, but we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to do better now. It doesn't fool progressives. They're not being fooled by it. They're not saying, oh, wow, they changed as a company. No, they're saying, doing the very least necessary to make me happy. So nobody's happy. Nobody's happy. Yeah. I wonder where this decision came from, because it just seems lazy. It seems like it wasn't like it just does the whole fact that, like I said, the spelling errors and the grammar errors in that release are terrible. And I almost wanted reading that, because where it appeared was the Adventures Guild, right? Adventures Guild page, I think, on their site.
Right.
I'm curious if this was okayed by anybody. I'll be honest with you, because having worked for corporations before, I know sometimes people think they're doing a good thing and they will jump out and do something, and later on it turns out they didn't get okay from anybody. They just did it kind of on their, or maybe a middle manager said, yeah, that's a good, we'll throw that disclaimer up. I'm wondering how far up the ladder this went, and if it even did.
Well, I can tell you this much, just from having, read it and screenshotted it, because I can't believe how poorly put together it was. If it was approved by anybody up the chain of command, they never physically were emailed a copy. Nobody actually looked at it and said, yeah, it was on the phone. Somebody going, all right, yeah. Okay, so listen, I wrote this out. Tell me what you think about it. And of course, when you read it out loud and you wrote it, you read it well, right?
Sure.
And the person listening isn't going, did he just say Dungeons and Dragons? No, he didn't say. No, they heard Dungeons and Dragons. Yep. And then it gets put up there like it is. And I guess nobody at WotC really gives a flying. Here's the other thing.
This reeks of somebody calling somebody else, and that person calling somebody else, and that person calling somebody else, and saying, "Hey, we need a 5-paragraph thing disavowing anything racist we've ever done." And he's saying, "You want me to do that? Okay, I'll do it." And that's what this reeks of.
Well, and here's the thing, deep down, the powers that be at Wizards of the Coast don't give a flying fuck, because they haven't fixed it. It's been up for days. They haven't fixed it. If you haven't fixed it, you don't care. You don't care, which is really an extra slap. It's like, well, you went to the effort to put this up. It's half-assed, and you can't even fix it. You really don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Maybe it was less to placate their perceived progressive audience, and more to placate, the powers that be at Hasbro But like before Hasbro gets an angry letter, and when it comes down to us, let's put this out there because we can't lose our cash cow.
Because that's very middle. It's very middle manager. If somebody watching the things that have happened the past month, along with the Magic, and then with the past employees coming forward, that very middle manager like we need to get out ahead of this because middle managers always want to get out ahead of stuff, right? When sometimes the best thing to do is just wait and see what happens and then react to that. They always want to get ahead of something. So let's get ahead of all this bad stuff going on before else bad comes out. We're going to have a win here. And our win's going to be, we're going to declare all our past stuff racist, but we didn't mean to do it like that. And we're not going to do it like that ever again. That's, that'll make us look good. Hasbro, because maybe Hasbro is going to finally look down here and see what's going on and go, whoa, what the hell are you guys doing?
Really?
I mean, come on. I mean, what is going on over there? This thing is like, Magic cards are money, and y'all are screwing that up. How can you screw that up? What have you done? And I'll say the accusations about Magic have been ongoing for years. This is not the first.
No,
Magic
but blew up. Right, but it blew up this year, and that's the thing. It blew up on cards that were out for years. And you're like, why now? Because there's a pivot going on. And I've said this before, but I'm going to say it tonight. We, as far as social norms go, the world's always progressing. Okay? What was socially acceptable back in 1800 is not socially acceptable in 1900. And then 2000 came along and things changed. And now 2020 things have changed. But you can't really go back and judge the past by today's moral standards.
You're
because it isn't true to, I mean, like, we don't have duels, right? They said at the founding of this country, they were still settling dispute with duels. Not only was it legal, it was socially acceptable. Now we'd be like, what the are you insane? You're going to challenge somebody to, Glock 19s at 20 paces? Come on. But back then, it's how presidents were, or future presidents were, deciding things. So, I in a way, as life gets easier, all right, as we have more, as life progresses, and we are no longer living a daily struggle just to eat and find shelter and live. Now we find other things to be more imperative, like Oriental adventures somehow being the cross to die upon. This is the hill where I'll make my stand. And I've been reading now. Again, I haven't spoken to any Asian gamers directly, but I've been reading a lot online. And apparently, in Asia, in Japan, Oriental Adventures was a very popular release because it's basically their fantasy. Yes, it was Western influence, basically rewriting their fantasy, their fables, their past fiction.
Don't they have a supplement GURPS Japan? I'm wondering how they
have GURPS Japan, GURPS China, GURPS Japan. They have GURPS everything.
And isn't one of them like a mystical China, right? Because they also have, but
maybe
listen, the GURPS source books. By the way, if those of you haven't heard prior, there's a GURPS Kickstarter going on. $3. I think it's a dozen books at this point in PDF. Listen, GURPS is one of those systems that you can grab anything and pretty much convert it to the system of your choice. It literally is that universal, and it's always well written. So just throwing it out there. But GURPS source books are amazing.
But I'm sure Steve Jackson had his problems with that one time.
Probably not. No, because Wizards of the Coast, especially now, the last couple of years, has been trying to set. Wizards of the Coast and Paizo have been trying to out. God, I'm going to say a term that is going to piss people off, but they've been trying to out woke each other for the last couple of years, and that's really the bad. But they've been trying to put their hands up and going like, "Pick me, Mr. Carter. Pick me." Ooh. I understand better. I understand better what my audience wants, and they've been reaching. Both sides reaching, and I think
the worst part of that is they're trying to outwoke each other, and we're finding out now their companies have systemic problems that maybe they were afraid were eventually going to come to light, and that's why they're trying to jump on the train because the stuff that's been leveled against them is it's not really being denied. Nobody's saying these things didn't happen. It's being laid out there. So I wonder if they were trying to get ahead of the curve here and say, hey, it's all eventually going to come out how we're treating our employees, how we're. I don't even know if you remember a few years ago there was a Magic scandal having to do with pedophilia of all things. They had some of the running Magic tournaments were child sex abusers.
I remember that.
So I mean, they had a huge black eye when that happened. They kind of swept that under the rug. But the thing is, now we're in a I wouldn't say we're in a post-COVID world because we're still going to it. We're in a COVID world here. The world's different than regular world. COVID world, because of people are quarantined, we're microscopically focusing on certain things now. Than before, there's so many stories going every day that just flies past, and you don't really notice. It's not the way things are now. We're basically eagle eye focusing now on certain things, and this is not going to go away from this. The stuff about the Magic cards. The way they treat their employees. This is not, hey, look over here. We got a convention. Here, Gen Con's over here. Woohoo, let's go to Gen Con. Hey, here's Origins over here. Let's go to Origins. Not this year. There's no distractions. This is going to be front and center for a while. So this is a little different than a few years ago when, hey, this guy that was running Magic tournaments, he had 18 accounts of molesting kids, and what'd y'all do about that? They were like, look over here, there's another tournament, and here's Gen Con coming up over here, and here's this other convention. We'll look at that later. We'll talk about that later. No, nothing's going to save them now. There is nothing coming along that is going to get us out of quarantine and get us talking about something else. Maybe when the election comes up in a few months, but until then. Sorry, kids. There's no conventions on the horizon this summer. There's no way for them to get back in good graces of their fans.
No, and you're right too. Is that people in general because of COVID, because of the shelter in place or retail environments being closed down, restaurants being closed down, movie theaters closed down. People are stuck at home, and they are bored. So that's why podcasts. Such as the one that was focusing on Oriental Adventures. I think I read somewhere that they spent over 20 hours talking about it and picking it apart, all the problems it had as an Asian-themed RPG book.
Sure.
Do you think that anybody would have listened to 20 hours of that shit in a normal circumstance? But when you don't have nothing else, you're going to listen
to me. How are your podcast numbers? I think you mentioned before your podcast numbers are crazy now, right?
Well, here's the thing. At the initial start of COVID, when the initial lockdown started, my numbers started to tank. They really started to go down because, let's be honest, people tend to listen to podcasts when they are doing other things like commuting. Whether you're driving or you're taking mass transit, I got 40 minutes to kill. Let me listen to some podcasts. If you're working from home, maybe you don't have those options. Now I think people have been so desperate for things to entertain and distract that my podcast numbers, looking at today's numbers, my podcast numbers have doubled. It blew my mind.
Good for you, lucky.
Yeah, but I mean. And I think it's because people are now gotten to the point where it's like, all right, what's my new normal? How am I going to? I used to listen to podcasts, or I don't listen to podcasts, but I need to find out what's going on in gaming because there's no conventions, there's no game stores to go to for me to talk to other gamers, sit down. My local group hasn't gotten together since mid-March. We're now in the beginning of July, and now people are listening to podcasts. I was listening actually to a YouTube video earlier today, and it was talking about, and this is from last year, that compared to blogs, which have always been huge, consumption now is moving to podcasts again because it's not a visual. You only have to listen, so you can walk and listen to a podcast, you can drive, listen to a podcast, and it's certainly picking up steam. Now, in the case of my podcast, I now have it automatically also converting to YouTube. So for those that just don't consume anything that isn't on YouTube, you don't have to look at my face. You'll just look at a steady graphic, but you get to hear the podcast. And if you have a hearing deficiency, I guess you can put on closed captioning and then actually get to watch.
I've got it on for you now.
There you go. Probably need it. My New York accent. Shit.
Nah, you're fine. Well, anyway, my take on this whole thing about the announcement from WotC and stuff. As an OSR gamer like you guys, I don't have a dog in this race. I can sit back and watch it because I got all my stuff.
Right.
But when they announced that on there, it made me go back and check my backups of all my PDFs to make sure I still had them. Because, I may have a few on like drive-through and they keep them on there, but who knows if they're going to update and change those. But as far as like...
No, go ahead, Glenn.
No. Well, the point is, see, I'm going to relate this to another hobby of mine again, collecting movies, DVDs and Blu-rays. And this is something Hollywood has dealt with for a long time. In fact, remember, Mike, I showed that Johnny Quest Blu-ray I told you about, this one?
Yep.
Now, the way you can tell it's the current one is right in the back. It says Johnny Quest, the complete original series, is presented as originally aired, is intended for the adult collector and may not be suitable for children.
Sure.
I've got stuff like I got the Disney cartoons, I got Looney Tunes and stuff that is rampant with that kind of thing.
And we both talked about the Tom and Jerry. I have the Tom and Jerry collection.
Yeah, and they did the same thing.
Whoopi Goldberg had to do a little 5-minute statement beforehand. Yeah. They got Whoopi in there to say, "Look, these are racist," but they're a product of the times, and so not present them would be pretend they never happened.
Right. I mean, there's some old.
We just want you to know the context of it. Is it
like on the tin box, the Disney treasures of like the old Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck cartoons? They have certain cartoons in a separate section where Malton has to come out and do this little speech about this is a product of its time, and before you can even watch them. So this is not an old thing for me. I mean, Hollywood's been doing this for years, and just like WotC's just kind of following along.
Well, see, and here's the reason why with WotC, I see it a little differently, because maybe you have to have been a purchaser of the online marketplace of PDFs for a while. I remember when Drive-Thru and RPG Now were separate companies. And I remember when they merged. And I remember when Wizards of the Coast removed all of their PDFs.
Oh, yeah, I remember that too.
And when they removed it, they didn't just remove it from sale. They removed it from your fucking catalog as a customer. You couldn't access it because they were afraid that people would download it on, from Drive-Thru and then share it as a torrent on the dark web. And people would go running off.
I'm glad they changed their minds. In fact, I was kind of glad they took them off because those PDFs were lousy.
Oh yeah,
that's the funniest part. Yeah, that they limited access to some of the crappiest PDFs on the planet.
Yeah,
but
they were terrible.
They not only did they remove them from sale, they removed them from your actual
Yeah, your access.
Your access, and that was wrong. And so I don't trust Wizards of the Coast when they have screwed up so much shit when it comes to how to do computer-wise, going back to 4th edition and the VTT from Hell. That was down. Listen, 4E died and withered on the vine because 4E was going to be the moneymaker based upon microtransactions.
Because of D&D Online.
D&D Online selling virtual tokens. They were going to sell virtual tokens and they were going to make millions of dollars, and they couldn't even fucking make that shit work. So I don't trust them in the long run to not suddenly go, oh, well, you know what? Yeah, Oriental Adventures, we're going to remove that one from the marketplace. And, yeah. Well, you know what? One of these Monster Manual, we're going to go back and orcs are now just going to be lawful. Lawful anything. We're just, because we changed it now, so we're going to go back and change it. I'm not saying
lawful evil. What the hell? They're still evil. Make it lawful evil.
But I'm not saying it will happen, but Wizards of the Coast has enough of a track record of fucking this shit up that I could see it happen. And that's sad. That really is sad.
Oh man, you still have the option. Look, the reason I saw people get really hot and bothered about this on the internet, it doesn't bother me that much because honestly, I don't buy Wizards of the Coast products anymore anyway. I mean, 5th edition is a great game. I don't play it, but it doesn't change the fact that the whole point of D&D is you make it the game you want to make it. And so, I mean, there's people out there that are still playing edition the way it was written in the rule book, and they haven't needed another book for 40 years. They still play the original rule books. And so, it does approach Tempest in a teapot, and there's a lot of angry old white guys like us going, I understand, or whatever. And I understand, but I just, it's just funny. To me, it's funny because they didn't make anybody happy while they thought they were doing something that was, hey, we're gonna hit a home run here. This is gonna be really good. And instead, all I did was piss everybody off because everybody's like, this is the dumbest thing ever. So
it's not enough for those that wanted stuff to either be pulled or edited to reflect what they perceive to be today's parameters, and for those like me who say it's a product of its time and we should just leave it be. Now it's like, whoa, those times pretty much everybody was prejudiced and it was wrong. Okay, but at the time you're viewing it with glasses from 40 years. It's like, and I made this argument elsewhere. If we are told, in general, in the West, that we should not judge other cultures and other religions based upon our morals, our way of viewing the world, right? We're constantly told that. Then how are we judging 40 years ago by our current standards, or 400 years ago?
There's people on the web who get bent out of shape that you're playing the game the way you're playing it, because this also leads into kind of gatekeeping, because it's like, oh, you're playing with that game that is racist and all this other stuff. You shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't be playing that game. You should be playing this new hoo-ha game, new edition, where it's all, and that, to me, that's a form of gatekeeping. And I don't like it. Don't like it at all.
I mean, look back at so I'm the first one to look back at the history of the game, and I have been fascinated by the continent of Africa my entire life, and I have read dozens of books on Africa, on the of Africa, on African tribe. I mean, I've always been fascinated by Africa. And I'll say right off the bat that the representation in early D&D products until about, I don't know, mid-90s was not good. It was terrible. I mean, I don't think a lot of non-white gamers felt absolutely comfortable with the game because there's just not a lot of representation there. And I don't know if that's by design or if that's just, product of the times. That's just something that's not there, and you can't really argue that. I mean, it's not.
Right.
I don't think representation really started rolling into maybe third edition 3.5, when you started seeing actual artwork that featured people who weren't white, and weren't. Now you didn't feature women, but the problem is the women that were featured in early D&D products were the gorgeous
nubile
women with like no clothes on. So that's different. That's a different. That's probably just as bad too. Although there were there's several prominent women that feature in some of the early products and actually some of the early artwork, but people of color, there's nothing. There's no representation there until third edition.
Well,
and so you can't argue that. That's just it is.
Well, you can't. But go ahead, Juan.
No, I was going to say, when I was in the RPGA, I remember WotC starting up. They had Living City and Living Forest, but they also had Living Jungle, which took place in Chult. All that right. Kind of Africa. With they had dinosaurs and the African people and all this other stuff. So they're starting to work on that kind of.
It was very the problem, I think, with the early representations of whites is it was very stereotypical. You look at a product like Drums on Fire Mountain. You look at a product like one of my favorite products, the Forbidden City, where you have to talk to a native leader before you go to the Forbidden City, and his son's being held captive there. They actually don't mention at any point whatsoever being a native. They're probably people of color. It's not mentioned, but you have to assume that, right? But they're presented in a very stereotypical.
I mean, you can go all the way back to Isle of Dread with the native.
Isle of Dread, yeah, there's another one there too. And the Isle of Dread, they're presented very stereotypically. They're just not presented in a very progressive way at all. But that's the state of the hobby back then. So I don't think you can. People that are getting all out of shape and out it shouldn't get that bent out of shape. Now, what they should get bent out of shape about. Wizard of the Coast is not offering a better alternative. They're not saying, because of what's going on in the world, we're going to have a game world. It's going to be based in this continent, and it's going to be people of color, and they're going to be rulers, and they're going to be powerful magicians, and they're going to be fighting great evil. One of the first in my own game world, one of the first campaigns I ran in there was a continent called Delos, and I had a tribe there basically it was Delos run by a tribe called the Ashanti, which is an actual tribe of actual Africa. I took that from my reading. We're fighting a centuries-long conflict with the Plateau of Shadow, which is a plateau, and it was filled with evil shadow creatures. And they held back these shadow creatures from taking over the world. They had warriors that were stationed, to not let anything bad off the plateau. And when your characters went to this continent, they would find out that this is like this age-long tradition. These people were raised as powerful wizards and priests and warriors to keep these shadow beings back. Not to toot my own horn, but that's a positive representation. The Coast has never done. They've never had that kind of representation where you say, hey, this is cool, man. I want to play in this campaign, and it's based mostly around people of color, and it sounds cool. They're doing cool things. They're not stereotypes. They don't have a bone through the nose or whatever, ridiculous stereotype people may have. This is great. The problem is Wizards is not offering that. They're not saying, instead of saying that they're doing is they're saying, you have to play orcs now as not evil, because we're going to admit to you that orcs have been a stand-in for black people all these years, which is ludicrous. But they're basically saying that. They're saying we're going to admit that orcs are stand-in, so now you have to play orcs as is not evil. Whereas
how I can see them changing orcs, trying to have them play them as Klingons.
I always play that way anyway, Glenn. So that is good.
The proud. Fierce warriors.
I always, that's how they are in my campaign. But the point is that why don't they just present a positive view of people of color? Isn't that easier to do in the long run? The change up orcs and just say, instead of we made mistakes. Here's what your press release said. We've made mistakes in the past regarding certain aspects of culture, including sexism and racism. What we're going to do to this positively is we're going to start a new game world. It's going to have a very positively portrayed group of people, and you're going to want to play these characters. You're going to want to play this world. It's going to be very positive, and you're going to enjoy this. Instead of just going around the edges and just on this platitudes,
that takes work. That takes work. Listen,
yeah. Well, I know you're right. Right.
Listen, Kevin Crawford did what? Spears of the Dawn, amazing OSR rule set, which drew upon African folklore. It was probably the best treatment I've seen of such. Then the pundit, he did a game that was based on Indian folk.
As of Adira, yeah.
As of Adira.
I can throw in one more too. The Nyambi book is for 3rd edition. It's excellent. The guy, I don't remember who did it. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name, but it's called it's Nyambe, Nyambi. If you're going to play an African or jungle-based campaign, that is an excellent book to read. It treats it very respectfully, and it's very historical too in their background. But yeah, besides those, there's really not a lot to choose from.
Now here's the thing. You can't fault the early creators. Why? Because RPGs, role-playing games, were built upon wargaming. The wargaming community was overwhelmingly white and overwhelmingly male.
And middle-aged.
It's just got older. So it wasn't until RPGs started going mainstream that we started seeing a significant influx of not just minority gamers, but female gamers. The thing is, it didn't change who the creators were at the time.
That's right.
The creators were still coming from that same initial section of gamers. Okay? When I played in high school, we had Asians in my group. We had blacks in my group. We had my group in college had women in our group. It was a well-integrated group in the mid to late 80s. It was happening, but the people that were writing were admittedly all white males. And is it like a lot of other industries at the time? No, pretty much you get hired based upon who you know, not necessarily the skill that you have. Back then, I'm sure.
Right.
You're
right.
Even today, today the barrier is lowered. Remember, we're talking when we come to the pundit, when it comes to Kevin Crawford, they've published some very successful books that were self-published because we have the technology to do that now. And Witch of the Coast is basically saying, you know what, we will add in color, we will add in genders, we will wave our flag, but we are not going to spend the money to actually invest in something that would be Afrocentric or a legitimate Oriental Adventures book. I think it would sell well, but they're not going to waste money on that because they don't
imagine the feedback instead of the gobbledygook drivel we've been given the past week from that company. Imagine instead they come out with a statement like I said. They said, "Look, we're hiring." I don't know. The first person is Michael Pondsmith because he's one of the most famous people of color in our hobby.
Great guy.
But somebody like that. We're hiring, this guy who basically this is, he's an African scholar, and he is going to write for us a setting that's going to knock your socks off. It's going to get rid of, it's going to hurt these accusations that we're racist because we're going to put our money where our mouth is. We're going to create a game world where people of color are the supreme, adventures in this world, and you're going to want to play this world. And imagine the feedback to that, which would have been, I think, positive. Nobody doesn't want to see a new game world, and especially one based on a trope that's not been used before. There's been very few well-done campaigns. We just pretty much named all the source books there are having to do with the kind of the African dark continent thing, Nyambi and then Spears of the Dawn. I mean, there's just not a lot.
Right.
And they surely haven't, done one, and it's been done. I don't think the best way they could have done it. Instead, we were just given this, feint and dodge. We're gonna really dodge the issue here, and we're not really gonna face the issue. We're just gonna say everything we did was racist, and please forgive us, and we'll do better next time. Instead of like you said, Eric, they're not actually throwing any money at the problem, hiring anybody to deal with it, or doing it in a positive way that brings the community together. Because, like I said, I'm nuts about it. Anything Africa or African continent. If WotC announced they would do something like that, I would buy it. I don't buy any WotC products, but I'd buy it if it was well written and well done. Just because I'm fascinated by the African continent, and just the whole history and just the adventuring opportunities. I mean, look at look at the. I like Pulp Fiction a lot. Look at the kind of Pulp Fiction background you can go to with a lot of the African continent, the dark continent. Yeah, you have kind of the dark continent. Yeah, you have the super city that's really science, kind of like a Wakanda thing going. I mean, there's so much you can do with it. There's so many things you can do with that nobody has even touched yet. And instead, we're just given, just boilerplate, stamp it. We're not racist.
Well, or we were racist, but we're not going to be. You know what it feels like? Okay, it feels like I'm raised Catholic, and my joke is I'm a practicing Catholic because I never get it right and I never will. But it sounds like some kid going to one of his early confessions, and the priest is like, okay, well, kid's like, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. It's been 6 years since my last confession. Okay, yeah, I took $2 from my mother's purse, and I said a 4-letter word. And you're not talking about your real sins. You just talk about these. Yeah. Because you just want, and then we'll say 3 Hail Marys and 2 Our Fathers. Well, thank you for it. And now
let's move on.
Yeah, but now, if you get a priest that's actually interested in you, or actually understands the faith a bit better, then you get somebody going. And so, how are you going to change going forward? And it's like, what? Which of the coast is not doing that? They're not like, well, yeah, we repent and we're going to do. No, don't just say you're going to do better. What are you going to do better? Well, we're not going to be as prejudiced and sexist, and a portrayal of gypsies is not going to be as gypsies anymore.
My opinion is if somebody truly apologize and say I won't do it again or I'll do better, it's on them. When a corporation says it, they better back it up with what they're going to do. A person, I could say, okay, fine. You're not going to do it again. I'll take it your word. I'll go on. A corporation is too many people. You gotta nail something. What are you doing about it, basically?
Like we've all just discussed, I'm not saying it's an easy job, but I'll tell you right now, the reason why it hasn't come up in public is because it's a time and money sink. And right now, Wizards of the Coast has really no creative staff. It's not like the old days when they could go to the bullpen like the old Marvel Comics, right? And let me pick you for the writer and you for the editor, and those are my artists for the new comic book. Or you're gonna be writing Monster Manual 2. All right, get to it. It's kind of like, oh shit, we gotta farm this out. And we farm it out. That means we gotta actually pay money out. Oh, now you said like Mike Pondsmith would be a great person to do it, but you know what? I got a feeling Mike Pondsmith would tell them, go fuck yourselves. If you really were interested in doing something like this, you would have done it when it wasn't for you to go, ooh, pick me, Mr. Carter. Pick me. Look at me. Look how progressive I am. You would have done it because it was the right thing to do, not to fucking score points.
Yeah, I didn't mean to just throw Mike's name out there as token black developer. I mean, he's one of the nicest guys in our hobby. He's one of the most intelligent people.
I love him. I love him.
His ballywick is cyber stuff. So I mean, he wouldn't be the best fit for this. I just threw that as an example. I mean, I didn't mean to pigeonhole anybody, but I'm just saying is that they could find somebody that knows what they're doing to put their money where their mouth is and say, we're actually going to make an actual change here instead of what they did do, which was the bare minimum to people off their back, which I think it backfired anyway. So that didn't work. That didn't work as planned, really.
Well, coloring, taking generic characters in a default Western style fantasy world, like, I don't know, Forgotten Realms, and now declaring, the bartender is black, and this bartender is, I guess can we say Asian without actually saying, all right, we'll say Asian. You could do all that and make your fantasy world an integrated United States, which is fine too. It's fantasy. But you could also say, hey, you'd like to do, like you said, an African setting. Well, within the Forgotten Realms, have it be prominent. Why does Wizards of the Coast have to reinvent the wheel each time? Let's bring back Dark Sun. Let's bring back Ravenloft. Get something new. But that requires money and investment. It's
the same reason that 90% of the movies that come out are either based on a TV show, equal to a movie, or they're redoing an old movie, because Hollywood has no new ideas. And this, I hate to say it, I think it's impossible. The gaming companies may have no new ideas. I don't know, because as much as they to the cash cow of reprinting Tomb of Horrors and Elemental Evil, whatever, it makes you wonder if they have any new ideas at all themselves, or if they have very few, because they seem to just keep, going back to these cash cows. While professing to hate what they stand for, they're not, above making money off them. Hell no.
No,
they'll make money off them.
Tomb of Horrors has been redone how many times now? For how many different editions? I mean, come on.
I don't have enough fingers. I don't
Remakes, sequels, you name it.
I mean,
how about come up with the next really cool killer dungeon? Why keep redoing Tomb of Horrors? Do something new now. It drives me crazy. The same thing when I see a movie based on something that, like, why are you doing a Starsky and Hutch movie? I don't care. Do a new movie based on two funny cops that run around. I mean,
Tales from the Yawning Portal, which is a redo of Tomb of Horrors, and about a half a dozen other old.
A dozen others, yeah. Yep.
And what's the one that bought? Look, Secrets of Saltmarsh, same thing. And the one that bothered me is Human Mad Mage. It's like, you better leave Undermountain alone.
Well, I certainly leave it alone. Those maps were impossible to use.
Oh, I love those maps.
I love Undermountain.
I could break stuff off of here. Yeah, I got both box sets. It's like I can break stuff off.
Get out of here. It's old schooly. It's old schooly, man. It really is.
Yeah. There are times I just think they're taking our, the old folks, they're taking our toys away. That's the way it feels. I
understand look, and there's a lot of, I understand the anger of a lot of grognards, and I understand why they probably overreacting to this, because, it's, like Glenn said, when you take your toys away, it'd be like if, Scooby-Doo came out, hey, we're gonna a new season of Scooby-Doo here. It's gonna star, this guy's gonna be Asian, this guy's gonna be black, Velma's trans. It just totally switches it up. Scooby-Doo's not even a dog anymore. Scooby-Doo's a ferret, because ferrets are more popular. People would absolutely flip out because, oh my God, this isn't Scooby-Doo anymore. But it's also it's not written for you anymore. Obviously, if that's what they're going to do.
WotC has proved that they can take with Curse of Strahd. To me, they proved they can actually take an established character and write something new around it. Which is, if they're going to do that, they'll just take, somebody well known like that and just write it like Mordecai or Volo, somebody like that, and just write another adventure around them. Do your own thing with them.
That's what happens. But that ends up happening to every form of media. And look, if you don't know the story of Arthur Conan Doyle, the reason he killed off Sherlock Holmes, the Reichenbach Falls, was because he was tired of writing him. He couldn't think of anything new, but he was a prisoner of his own success, because right after he kills them off, everybody flips out. They just badger him so much.
He got a couple of years of maybe that's all he needed was like a little downtime.
He needed to revamp. But I always understood he came back against against his best wishes because they just offered him a truckload. We're going to back a truckload of money up to your house and dump it there. How much
nobody was buying and reading his Lost World stuff. That's why.
Oh. I mean, from what I understand, he asked for even more money than that, and they said, "Okay, sure," because that's how crazy we were about Sherlock Holmes. So he's
I'll go back to Sherlock Holmes. Two of the novels, Holmes solves it in the first half of the book, and the second half is this whole backstory about how it got this way. And it's like Conan Doyle just took one of his other novels and adapted it into the back half of this Sherlock Holmes novel.
I know one of those novels is Hound of the Baskervilles. What was the other one? I can't remember. There was a
Hound wasn't. No, Hound didn't sign the four.
Hound was okay.
Valley of Fear and Study of Scarlet. Study of Scarlet. Holmes solves it the first half of the book. The second half is what happened up to that point, which had nothing to do with Holmes. And then he comes in at the end to sort of wrap it up. And the Valley Fairy does the same thing. And the second half is all about the Molly Maguire's fiction.
Maguire's, yeah.
Fictionalized, and he does the same thing. So it's like, okay, I'm going to get my other stuff in whether they like it or not.
So this isn't a new problem. This is something that people have always, keep going back to the well and like, well, I don't want to write Sherlock Holmes anymore, but you got to write Sherlock Holmes. Well, I think we have the same thing. People now are kind of like, I don't want to write pseudo Tolkien. Whatever. I want to do something new. Well, no. All that sells is pseudo-European Tolkien crap. I mean, so you got to start writing. That's what you got to write. But I don't want to write that anymore. I got to write that. Right. I want to write something different. No, you got to write that. Oh, I don't. Okay, I'll write.
Right. I have a question for the two of you, and I'm almost going to do like the McLaughlin report when we were younger.
Grant's Tomb.
Okay, I
ask you, Eric Tenkar.
I ask you. Goodman Games. Classic reprints. Are the future ones gonna have the same disclaimer that Wizards of the Coast has in our PDFs right now? Glenn, yes or no?
Hell yes.
Nice. Yes or no? Nice.
Yes, of course they are, because that's the only reason they're able to do those is because they're making money off old products. So of course, yes.
Now, Eric, if you were Dana Carvey doing them, you would go wrong.
You're right. I couldn't do it. That's right.
Oh, the McLaughlin report was great. Yeah. He would do that. Go wrong. He go next guy.
I used to call.
No, it's not. You're wrong.
I used to call RFI the Meet the Press of role-playing podcasts. I used to call Save or Die the McLaughlin report of role-playing podcasts. And Banco's Hammer is the sports center of role-playing podcasts.
But there you go. Look, that's a good example of a way that the Wizards of the Coast is making money off. I mean, how many of those have done so far? They did Isle of Dread. They did B1, B2. They did. Oh my God, they've done Barrier Peaks. They're doing. Right. I've heard they're doing Temple Down on Evil. That's one coming up.
I believe it. They did
Castle Amber. Did they do Castle Amber?
No.
I don't know.
Undermountain, Saltmarsh.
I was just talking about the ones Goodman did. Those are the ones they farmed out to
Goodman. The reprints. Yes.
Yeah,
I'm thinking I wasn't going to get them.
Rewrites. Yes.
I wasn't going to get them because it's like the 5e, but then I found out like they got the original in there too that they cleaned up.
They have a little bit of new material.
And it's like
the Lost City is the fourth one.
Lost City
was the other one. Yeah, they do have some new material. It's worth getting. There it is. Now available in the online store. I just looked, Lost City.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think the next one's going to be. I swear I saw Castle Amber in there somewhere, but I don't know. Yeah, Wizards of the Coast is they're farming it out to make money. They're not even hurting their own fingers with it.
How the hell with them? I'm going to go play a star. To hell with them. I'm going to go play Astonishing Swordsman. Anyway, yeah, let's get some money. How about that? Anyway, yeah, folks, go play Astonishing Swordsman.
By the way, that just reminded me. I just saw the cover of Lost City, and we lost Jim Holloway last week. I just forgot about that.
Yeah, you know what? I got to tell you. Mark Hunt, who's doing the Gangbusters BX. He was trying to get Holloway to do some new art for the new Gangbusters.
Oh, because he did all the original Gangbusters art, didn't he? Yeah.
Yes, he did. He wanted to do he wanted to give him some
would have been
pieces.
great.
And it's like, oh, yes, it would have. More gangster art out of Holloway.
I loved Holloway's paranoia art. I mean, that's
where I remember him first. It's funny. I've seen the old TSR. Then I went back and oh, he did the D&D stuff. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, his paranoia stuff.
His paranoia stuff.
I used to really got the game. He understood it.
It's every character I saw. I could tell it's Holloway with the rings around the eyes. Yes, that's Holloway.
Yep. So,
but I loved his work.
Additive.
Yeah, doggone it.
But
anyway.
Other stuff going on in the online communities. I know a couple of people that are OSR related have had their Facebook accounts hacked.
Yeah, he said Vince has.
Yes, Vince. And others.
Florio.
I don't think he was going to mention names, Lynn.
Well, I just did.
Yes,
this is for.
Yes. But listen, I'm just going to put it out there for everybody. A lot of us are guilty of reusing passwords. If you use like Google Chrome and you go to a site and it passes up with a password warning that this password is compromised, it means that somewhere it's out there on the interwebs. I've had it happen to me. Go and change it because we're guilty of reusing passwords with emails. So those combinations are dangerous. If the service you're using has two-factor authentication, use it. Because
I'm seriously considering changing browsers to like Vivaldi.
I've never even heard of it.
And by the way, two-factor authentication works. I usually keep my cell phone with me. They're really good about you're changing a password. We're going to text you a number, 6-digit number. Just enter it in there, and I just have my phone there. Beep beep. Enter it. Guess what? If somebody steals your account, they can't do that. You don't have your phone. So two-factor authentication is excellent. Now, if you don't have your phone with you, you're screwed. If you're going to do two-factor, definitely keep your phone with you.
I go on the Google Password Manager because I can usually not remember where the ones I've been to and look it up, and it's like 131 compromised passwords. Oh crap! Does that mean I have to go back and change each and every one of them?
Oh boy!
Which I'm not going to.
So, folks, Glenn. Stay on target. Yeah, stay on target. Not us, not me, not it. But no, I've seen it popping up on Facebook, and listen, if they can either go in and just post as you. Some of them just go in and they do post like they're trying to I know what I'll do. I'll sell my pornography links this way.
Oh boy, yeah.
But others go in and they try to delete communities and stuff like that. So just be careful.
Oh, great.
The shit's out there.
I will.
As we were talking about before we kicked the show off, we are in pretty much burn the show. We're in a COVID world these days, and
don't remind me.
Well, it's hard to not be reminded. It's like, oh gee, I guess if I want to get fast food for dinner, I have to call Uber Eats, and it's like I gotta put my mask over me, make a doctor's appointment. It's like, now remember, when you come to your doctor's appointment, call the office and tell us you're there, and then sit in your car in the parking lot until we tell you to come in.
You know what drives me crazy about the whole COVID thing? Why did they make it so freaking hard to get a COVID test if they're so worried about it?
Well, now it's easy to get a COVID test in New York.
Yeah, but where?
Multiple hospitals.
We called around and it's like, okay, we have to make an appointment and it's going to take about 4 days.
It's tougher here, Eric. We've had Texas and Oklahoma. You can wait in line hours to get a test here.
Oh, that's how it was.
A free test. Now, if you want to pay for it, you can go to the front line, so to speak. But yeah, if you want a free test, it's going to cost you.
I don't mind paying for it, but I never paid for it in my life, but not that. But
ow!
Ow! But when I went to the gallbladder thing, I had to go in like the day I did the day before, and they have the results right away. It's like, why can't you do that all the time?
Listen, I've been I've been tested for COVID 3 times now. First time when I had pneumonia, I was at Elmhurst Hospital. Literally 2 weeks to the day before they had 18 people die in 24 hours. And they took out the... now, this is not being said to be, racist, but they took out the chopsticks. But they were longer than any chopsticks I ever saw. Stuck them up my nose till you were scraping my fucking throat. And then they went in and scraped my throat.
I coughed all over. They just did the long Q-tips up my nose, but I think I coughed all over the person doing it because I was sitting there, like this, and they stick it up my nose.
Yeah. Well, then when I went back, when I had the congestive heart failure, they did it in that ER. And then when I had to go back for the last procedure, I had to go back the Friday before that Monday so they could do the COVID testing to make sure I wasn't going to have COVID table. I had COVID all over the table. No. Tested 3 times. Still negative. Thank the Lordy.
Thank Lordy? Okay.
Lordy. Yes.
I just think it's funny someday you're going to talk about your 2020, how you were sick all the time. Yep. Oh, well, Grandpa Eric, that's because you had COVID, right? Like, no, I never had COVID. I just had everything else in the book, but I didn't have COVID. That's the one thing I didn't have.
I said, screw the COVID. Let me go for a trifecta. But I haven't done the trifecta. I've only got placed in.
Well, let's see. Carl Reiner died of old age. Charlie Daniels had a stroke. Enrico Moroni died from a fall. And then you look at those and you go, "Oh, thank God it wasn't COVID."
Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Moroni he died of a fall. I did not know that.
I looked it up on Wikipedia. It says complications from a fall.
He was 90 something, so yeah, if you fall when you're 90.
And it's like everybody's like, Carl Reiner's dead. It's like, dude, he was 98. Okay, he had a good run.
It's not a tragic death at that point. It's thumbs up, man. You kicked ass. It's not a tragic death. You died that late.
Oh yeah,
you done did well.
Reiner seemed like he was in just faculties for up till the end too. I never heard any words that he was had dementia or Alzheimer's. So he was still hanging in there.
You are right. It's like Rickles. Rickles was sharp to the end.
Oh God, yes.
God Almighty,
freaking hilarious. He was still hilarious.
I mean, he slowed down a lot, but he still would come up with it, and it's like, wow, this brain never rests.
Okay, there we go. So I'm gonna be McLaughlin report here. All right. Rickles comes back today. Does he have a career? Glenn Hallstrom. Does Don Rickles have a career nowadays? Yes or no?
What are you, a dummy? Of course he does.
You're wrong. Does Don Rickles have a career now? Insult comedian. Does he have a career now or
not? No, because he is going to get Me Too'd in like 2 seconds.
Exactly. He's finished. Finished his first show.
Yeah, but I watched like Letterman clips in 2016 or whatever the hell before he retired, and nobody was calling him on it.
Because he was grandfathered in by then. I'm talking about brand new.
Yeah, he was. Oh, okay.
Imagine Don Rickles, age 30.
I mean, he's got a clip of him on Letterman with Denzel Washington sitting next to him. Who asked to be out there when he was out there just to get insulted
on YouTube.
By him. Yeah,
it's on YouTube. Oh, he doesn't insult him. He insults Letterman the whole time.
Oh no, but he turned to Letterman. He said, "Well, he goes to Letterman. What is he here to clean up?"
He also says that Denzel goes, talking to Denzel because he can do something for my career. You can't do anything for me. Yeah. It's hilarious. If you get a chance, it's on YouTube. Watch. It's hilarious. And Denzel is absolutely just about ready to roll on the floor the whole time. Denzel is laughing so hard.
But
it's great. He does a great job.
There are, Seinfeld, the greatest sitcom of all time. It was one of the earlier sitcoms to have an episode permanently pulled. Do you guys remember the episode?
No, I don't.
The masturbation episode.
No. Okay,
I forgot. That has not been on. I haven't seen it in a long time. I guess that makes sense. Now.
That got pulled from rotation. I don't know if it's on.
I figured they pulled the soup Nazi at some point because.
But you think about it,
soup Nazi.
Yeah,
I remember. I was caught before I was a sergeant. My captain with his Irish brogue sent me to get his car cleaned at the car wash, and he's like, "Lad, you drive it through the car wash." I'm like, "Well, no, you bring it to the car wash and they put on that little track and it kind of drives itself. I don't want no motherfucker going in my car but you." Why? When I seen Seinfeld, they all fucking smell. I go, "Oh, everybody that works in the car wash." I'm like, okay, Seinfeld couldn't, Now they're going back to the turn of the century, right? We're going back 20 years.
Wow.
He can make jokes like that. He could not do that joke today.
Oh no!
No way.
Chance.
I've got a friend named I got a friend named Eric that I game with. He's from New York City. I don't know where, but he's from New York City. I'm from California. We get along great. But he always has, because all my accents. The only problem he has was my Irish accent, because he says you're doing stage Irish, movie Irish. And I said, yes, I am, because it's a role playing game. He says, "Oh, you're doing I'm gonna go fuck a potato."
I had my Irish bartender when I was in the South Bronx in the 401. They had an Irish bar, literally 3 blocks from the precinct, in the middle of the South Bronx. And Bernadette, and I would slip into my Irish brogue once in a while with her, and she'd be like, "Lad, that's not a brogue, that's a fucking leprechaun." I'd be like, "Ouch."
I learned how to do a real Irish accent. You're mumbling like this. I learned doing that from the Commitments. So I talked about fucking flock of seagulls. They're a bunch of shite.
Shite is a great word. Shite is an awesome word. Yes, I use shite sometimes. I love shite.
Oh yeah,
shite is great.
Give me that shite.
Don't hang out with Irish women that are from Ireland, because my local pub has a lot of Irish women from Ireland that are bartenders.
Mm-hmm. All you're gonna hear the C word a lot. Is that what you're gonna tell?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You can use it back to them, and they don't blink an eye. But you step out of the fucking pub,
and
you use it, and it's just like, "Oh wait, I can't use them."
I know an Irish girl, and that was every word out of her mouth was that, which was shocking.
By the way, last week I auditioned for The Young Couple, got nothing. They did not catch me at all.
You didn't get Murray. You couldn't even get Murray.
I couldn't even get Murray because, I'm the kind of I'm Mr. New York around the theater. You want a guy with a New York accent, you call me. Because that's why I go audition for stuff like Neil Simon plays, so I can do that kind of stuff.
You got robbed. You got robbed, Glenn. Yeah, I can't believe you couldn't get The Young Couple.
I already played Murray once, so
he was robbed.
You seem like Murray to me. That's what I'm saying.
Everybody.
I stereotyped you as Murray. I'm sorry.
Everybody says that.
Yep.
Yeah.
You'd be a perfect Murray. Dang it. Well, I'm sorry about that.
Glenn,
I play Gangbusters. I could do all the accent, all those accents.
There you go.
Hey.
Italian accent. Do you have one?
Italian?
Yeah. Can you do Italian?
What do you want? You want a Chico Marx one? What do you want? I get this scumbag over here. Do the Tony Soprano thing or what?
I just saw Duck Soup again the other day. That just made me laugh when you said the Chico one. No want the pretzels. No want to sell the pretzels. Oh God.
That's a one smart dog. He went out with a bird with the pole. I'll bet the dog got to the pole first.
I don't think Groucho would work now too. Groucho was a little bit sexist. And racist.
Okay. My pet peeve.
The movies.
I hate playing they couldn't make that today game. That started with me with Blazing Saddles.
Oh,
you couldn't make Blazing Saddles stay. Of course you couldn't, but we got it, so shut up. I don't see
your favorite Blazing Saddles joke was that
even if they get with everything they did in Blazing, even if they get with everything Mel Brooks did in that, it still wouldn't be good as a remake.
No,
the original is just too funny.
The I want to say it's a Babylon Bee had a satirical article. They said coming out with a new brand new version of Blazing Saddles. It's all a new, basically it's one of those redone versions. It's premiering tonight at 7:00. It runs 7:00 through 7:07 p.m. What's that kind of all-fitting material? Movie's gonna be 7 minutes long. That's about right. Yep, 7-minute long movie.
My God.
Well, it's funny because I saw something on YouTube over the weekend about Blazing Saddles, and apparently Mel Brooks thought that he had a perfect contract. He did not want this the producers of the movie, whatever MGM, whoever it was, making it a Blazing Saddles without him. And
Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers.
Wow. So he put into the contract that they could only do another movie if they produced a TV series first.
They did a pilot.
No, they did. Not only did they do a pilot called Bad Bart, they did 4 seasons.
Black Bart? What?
Black Bart, but they just never aired them. But they did 4 seasons.
I did see the pilot. I remember some pilot.
Yeah, I saw part of the pilot. Who was? Gossett was the lead.
Lou Gossett?
Lou Gossett, and the Polish guy from Barney Miller. Was
I know who you're talking about. It was Wojo.
Wojo was the straight guy. And I'm just like, I mean, the pilot looked.
He was the Gene Wilder.
Looked pretty bad, but they kept it going because they figured this way we have the opportunity to do a sequel. And then they realized, wow, we can't really do a sequel, can we? Because it will never fly.
It wasn't Wojo. It was a Barney Miller. It was Steve Landisberg.
Steve Landisberg. That's right.
I just looked up.
Yeah, that was the closest thing you can get to Gene Wilder.
Steve Landisberg. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I love his deadpan delivery.
Well, I did not know the story. I'm absolutely shocked. Yeah, many more episodes were filmed. Spot never aired because the studio was contractually obligated to make them in order to keep the rights Blazing Saddles. I have not heard this story. This is wild.
Wow. I haven't heard it either, so that makes 2 of us.
See, folks, crazy. You listen to Talking Crit,
you learn.
It's educational.
By the way,
it is.
Yes, fine.
It's amazing.
By the way, you know what I found out today? You know Steve Jackson's Toon, right?
Yes.
The role-playing game. You know there's another cartoon role-playing game out there? It's called Toonsy.
Really?
You can buy it on Amazon. It's like $30. I've got the PDF. And I haven't looked at it yet, but I know something. I mean, it's got all the dice plus a few more. Plus they threw in some like DC dice, like D14s or something.
That's just that. I'll stick with my Toon, please.
Well, I just want to look at it, but I love the artwork. God, the artwork's so great. It's more Toony than Toon. I loved it. But I'm going to look at it and see if there's anything worthwhile in there.
Hey, are we coming back and doing this in 2 weeks?
2 weeks?
I'm game.
I thought
let me throw.
I'm gamey.
Do we get to pimp products now? Is this our pimp product section?
Yes. This is the pimp time. So Mike, you can pimp first.
Okay.
I think I pimped this already, but I'm going to pimp it again. We're getting to come back for Swords of Wizardry Light. I sent out quite a few packets. I got more packets. Anybody wants one, just email me or contact me through Discord or Facebook, and I will get you a packet. But I had a lot of positive feedback to. I posted I went through and posted a list of alternative first level spells, alternative second level spells. I posted the monster. I had a tome of Horror's Light. We published 1, but we never published 2 and 3. I published 2. It's up on the Facebook page. Just the magic potions. I've done quite a bit. So what I'm doing the next few weeks is I'm going to start an online campaign for Swords of Wizardry Light. I have a whole campaign plan. I have a campaign setting.
Wow.
I have a which I think is a very well-written adventure by Simon Forster for Adventure Conqueror King that he wrote about 10 years ago that I have converted to Swords Wizard Light. Very easy to convert. I'm going to run that as an online campaign. So if you have any idea about Swords Wizardry, it takes earn experience a regular way for every level. For the first 2 levels, you go up. How would you put it? So you go up a level. Every adventure you go on, toward going up a level.
What is it? You survive 2 sessions. You come
go up to level 2.
Survive 3 sessions, you go 3rd level. 4 sessions, 4th level. So I have the campaign I have planned. It's highly lethal. You can die very easily. It's kind of a mega dungeon concept. Back when they were doing the 1-page dungeon, this is kind of modeled after that. But I have a setting and I have an adventure world plan for campaign world, and so I'm gonna give it a shot online for people who want to try to learn. You like maybe some. It's very easy to play with your kids. To play with people that have never played RPGs before. It's one of the easiest but most fun games. My grandkids love the system.
Good.
I'm going to try to run a campaign, which is it seemed like it's tough. So I go Swords Wizard Light. By 5 adventures, you should be up to 3rd level, which is the highest Swords Wizard Light goes. So if we still like it past that, we're going to switch
up to Continual Light.
Up to Continual Light, which is Eric's creation there, along with Swords Wizard Light. That's his last 3 up to 7, correct?
Yes, and it's leveling past 7, but not level 8. There's you can survive extra adventures and either buy a hit point or buy a bonus
right,
or an extra spell,
or just jump to Swords and Wizardry.
Yeah, but I want to see how long I can take it. Like I said, I want something very light, easy to play, fun. We're not get too involved in it. It's just going to be. I'm going to see if. What I can come up with, because I've written a lot of extra rules. I don't know if they work yet. I don't know if some of the spells are going to work. I don't know if the monsters will work. So we're going to do this, and we're going to see if it works. And kind of like learning by adventuring. We're going to see.
Right.
And then you never know. I've actually had a lot of positive feedback with Zach. I was told at one point we're not going to publish any more Swords Wizard Light material because what we have is enough. We've done it. It's done. We're going to go from there. And I'm just trying to get something else published. I still have my idea for my adventures. And by the way, if you get a packet, I have a photocopy of my Lair the Cautious Mage, which is a beginning adventure Swords Wizard Light. I have 2 more adventures, and one of the most positive things about the sending out packets is that I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about my adventure. Ask me where my other 2 adventures are. So I'm very encouraged by that, and I am writing those, and I will have those done pretty quick.
Okay.
I have at least 3 adventures for Swords Wizard.
Cool.
That's
okay. Okay. My pimp is always going to be listen to Radio Gorgnard every day on Anchor. And Becco's Hammer, I don't know where. But since I don't have any projects of my own, but I usually pimp other people. I'll pimp because all the stuff I want to pimp, like Kickstarters are done and all this. But the one big one I want to pimp is Eric Bloch's Survive This Fantasy, which is going to deliver in November. Then after that, he's going to be selling them. And if they're anything like Vigilante City or Zombies or the other one he did, it's going to be a great fantasy system based on the same engine. So that's Eric Bloch Games Survive This Fantasy. I'm looking forward to that. And the artwork is great, of course.
Nice.
That's
all right. Well, I'm going to do a pimp that I could have done. Necromancer Games, a.k.a. Frog God Games, a.k.a. Bill Webb, kicked the Kickstarter off today. Tome of Alchemy, magic item, and potion creation. Yes. It's technically 4 or 5e and Pathfinder 1e, because basically it's a fuck you to Pathfinder 2. I didn't say that. But it's also got system neutral stuff, so it's Swords and Wizardry usable so long as you just ignore things like, skill rolls and stuff. There's a lot of stuff that you can use for it. It has a goal of $15K. It's already at 8,200 in about, I'm going to say 6 hours time, which is pretty impressive. for the first day of the Kickstarter. So, again, Home of Alchemy, Magic Item, and Potion Creation for 5e. Give it a look. I'll probably post tomorrow on the blog. Folks, this very podcast is now available on YouTube. Those of you who just don't want to listen on the podcast side, you can get a visual, but it won't be a video.
Hey, you said that this wasn't going to be a video.
It isn't, but there is going to be a video. It's going to be a static video, non-video.
Okay, got it. Oh, Eric, before I go, just a quick note about Kickstarter stuff. I got another message for the guy who's doing Yar today.
I got the message.
He says, I'm still working on it, and here's the cover.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah, I looked at the cover. Was like, yeah, okay. Rainbows and ponies.
Yeah, that's all I know about Yar now. So,
yeah,
we'll see.
I wasn't impressed either. But that's neither here nor there.
It's neither Yar nor there.
Oh, yar.
Oh, ouch.
Ouch. But boom.
Still in that COVID pandemic time. Use your common sense. You know your state, you know your rules. Be safe, be well. I'm speaking for myself when I say this, but God bless. And hopefully I will talk with you all tomorrow. The rest of us as a group should be back in 2 weeks, which would make it July 22nd.
Until I see you again, folks, keep the dice warm.
Keep the dice. Where would you put? Storing your armpits.
Oh no.
No, if you click solid.
That's my standard. That's my standard. Like,
you can put your dice with solid dealing. No. Okay. We'll have a dice discussion next time. All right.
Okay.
Be good.
Bye.